Hey everyone, today we're going to make an easy caramel cake from scratch. This is sort of the cheater method in making a caramel cake. You don't have to make your own caramel sauce or anything like that, but it still turns out really deliciously moist and it tastes just like caramel without all that extra effort. All right, the first thing that you want to do is take two 8-inch round cake pans and you can grease them and flour them if you want to. Here I'm just using these pre-cut parchment paper circles and I got them from Amazon. I'll put a link to them below, but I've started using these because they're super easy. Just spray your pans, put one of these parchment circles in it, and then kind of spray it again. It's so much easier and quicker than actually greasing and flouring your pans, but use whatever method that you feel comfortable using. So now you're going to add 2 2/3 cup of all-purpose flour to a medium-sized mixing bowl, and then 2½ teaspoons of baking powder, and then a ½ teaspoon of salt. And now we're going to use butterscotch pudding mix. And this is just the instant pudding, not the cook and serve. And you can see here, I'm taking out about 2 heaping tablespoons full of the pudding mix. If you add the whole pudding mix, it will make the cake fall in the middle. Trust me, I've tried it. So just take out at least 2 tablespoons full and then put the rest in with the other dry ingredients and then mix all of that up with a whisk, and you're going to set that to the side. So in another bowl, you're going to add 1 cup of caramel coffee creamer, and I just used the vanilla caramel coffee creamer from Coffee Mate. You can just use any caramel coffee creamer that you like, and then add a ½ cup of whole milk and 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil, then 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and take a whisk and just mix all of that up really well. So now add in 1 cup of unsalted butter, and you want to make sure that this is room temperature, and just mix it up until it is very smooth, and add 1 cup of packed light brown sugar to that and 1 cup of regular granulated sugar, and mix it on sort of a medium high speed for several minutes. You want it to be light and fluffy. And then add 3 large eggs, and you're going to add these just one at a time. So just add the egg and mix on medium only, and only mix for about 20 seconds after each egg. You don't have to go crazy here. So just add the egg, mix for 20 seconds, add the next one, and continue on until they are all added. And then as always, you want to scrape down the sides and the bottom of your bowl and then mix again. And now you're going to start adding in the dry ingredients and the wet ingredients alternately. So add about 1/3 of the dry ingredients and then mix on medium only until it's just combined. And then add half of the liquid mixture. Do the same thing, just mix until it's just combined. And you're just going to keep alternating. So you're going to do 3 parts of the dry ingredients and then 2 parts of the liquid ingredients. And remember, be very careful not to mix too long, because if you mix too long, you're going to have a really dense cake and it could possibly fall as well. So start with the dry ingredients, half of the liquid, dry ingredients, the other half of the liquid, and then finally the last part of the dry ingredients. And then at the end, you can always just use your spatula to mix it up to make sure everything is mixed well so you don't overmix it. And the batter is going to be pretty thick here, but just spread it into the 2 pans that you prepared earlier just as evenly as possible. And I always seem to have a hard time getting everything even, but oh well. You can bake this at 325 degrees Fahrenheit for about 50 to 60 minutes. Ovens will vary, and then place them on a cooling rack for about 10 minutes, and then you can flip them out and just let them cool completely while you make the buttercream frosting. And these cake layers will bake up flat. That is completely normal for this cake. So for the frosting, add 2 cups of unsalted butter. Make sure it's room temperature. Just add that to your mixing bowl. And by the way, you can always use a hand mixer. You don't have to use a stand mixer like I do. And then next you're going to add a 1/4 cup of just jarred caramel sauce. And if you want to, you can make your own homemade, but I don't have time for that. So I just added the jar and it turned out really well. And then add 1 tablespoon of that coffee creamer that you used earlier and mix all that up until it's really good and smooth. So now you're going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt and then 6 cups of confectioner's sugar. Now I add mine in stages because if you add all 6 cups, it's going to make a mess. Also, I'm adding in a couple tablespoons of plain milk and not the creamer because you need a little bit extra liquid. But if you keep adding more of that creamer, it's going to make the frosting super sickly sweet, and you don't want to do that. So only add that 1 tablespoon of the creamer and then add a little bit of milk as you need it to get your frosting to the correct consistency. So keep adding the milk and the confectioner sugar until it's all mixed really well. And at the end, you can whip it up for a minute or two just to sort of make it really light and fluffy if you want. And then to assemble this cake, you're going to put 1 layer on the cake plate and add some frosting as the filling. And then I'm just taking a little bit of that jarred caramel sauce and drizzling it on top of that. You don't have to do that. It's completely optional, but it does give it a nice taste and a nice boost of caramel flavor. And then just add the 2nd layer of cake. And then you want to cover everything with that buttercream frosting that we just made. And then just decorate it however you like. I usually go simple and just kind of scrape my icing spatula around the side of the cake. And then you can actually add a little bit of a drizzle of the caramel on the top just for an extra added touch. I really like that because it gave it a little bit more of a caramel flavor. I hope you love this one. If you make it, please let me know what you thought. And as always, I will put a link to the recipe in the description below, and you can go and print that out if you want. And when you get to that recipe, you can also click on the button that says metric, and it will convert all the ingredients for you if you need that. Okay, y'all, happy cake baking, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.